What's up, everyone? Bacon here, and today we are doing the long-awaited Beast tier list for AFK Companions. I have it all laid out right here. I would say if you just look at this at a glance and that's all you need, that's totally fine. But there are some nuances to every beast, when to use them, when they're better, that I'm going to briefly discuss. So if you want that information, make sure that you continue watching this video. So before we jump into things, there's a few things I want to note that are really important. There's a lot of caveats with beasts. And so the first thing is every beast will have different stat boosts, and these will look different for every beast. Not everyone is going to be the exact same. And so if you look at my deer, she's ascended currently, and she gives a health percentage boost to wilders. This is only to wilders, and you can see because it has the symbol right there. If you look at my owl, he has two that are specifically just for light bearers, and then this is for everyone. Now, they also have abilities that are specifically for that faction as well. And so you can see here, also restores energy to all allied light bearers at the start of the battle. Now, that means that basically each of these pets has a dedicated faction that it's going to benefit more. So, Ice Queen Lady is going to be for Celestials and Hypogenes, Wilders, Light Bearers, Maulers, etc., etc. And so you can see how these might be beneficial during certain situations. For example, if you're pushing towers and you're pushing the Wilder Tower, it might be beneficial to use the Bello Deer person because of that bonus. And these bonuses are pretty steep. Like, health 18% is big, 32% defense, Magic Pierce 4.9. Like, these are not like small buffs. Like, these are definitely significant. And so that's one thing to consider when choosing your beast. Another thing that you're going to want to notice is that some of these are red and some of these are ascended. Basically, the color is just affects how big of a buff it is. And so ascended is the best. You can see here, mythic second best, the legendary, and then so on and so forth. I don't even think purples get those. Yeah, purples don't get it. You get them at legendary plus. And so that's one thing to also look at. And the thing that's unfortunate is every beast, those stats are just randomized. These are not like the same exact for every single beast, which is why they give you the option to combine, but we're not going to be talking about the combining today. But that's just a quick overview of those specific things, because I think it is important for you to know that about beasts and that they are specific, more beneficial towards different factions. So if we look in the S tier, we got owl and deer. I'm just going to go off what they look like, and they're not their actual names because who knows their actual names half the time. But the owl is an S tier because he has a really great ability that increases your team's ability haste while also reducing the other team's energy. And so that is a twofold factor that basically makes it so your team is going to use their abilities faster while preventing the other team from using theirs as fast. And so that can be super valuable in a lot of different areas. Think about arena, where basically whatever team can use all their abilities first, a lot of times is going to win. You think about different pushes in campaign when both your sides are just doing auto attacks, and then one side gets their stuff off first, and then the other team just dies. It's very valuable in a lot of areas. In different bosses, it can help you generate your alts quicker, which results in more damage. I mean, it's just a great pet that should be used and can be used in a lot of different areas. The next one is the deer. Deer is more of a healing, kind of sustain pet. They help your team live longer. This is especially great in Forked Fate. Can keep your team alive so you don't hit the 3 death maximum. It can help your team sustain a lot of damage at once. It can help kind of be anti-bursty, which is really nice. And the deer can be used in a lot of areas as well. Campaign, Forked Fate, towers, basically everywhere. And so these two are kind of like the all-stars of the pets, and that's why they are in the S tier. Next, we have the Ice Queen, Icicle Lady, whatever you want to call her. And she is really good because she can actually pump out a decent amount of damage in battle against the other team, and she freezes the other team as well. But I think probably the most valuable thing she offers is she increases your team's crit, which can help you output a lot more damage than you normally would. She can be good against teams that Might be a little harder to break through, might be a little tankier, but I think a lot of her value comes from the bosses in the game. So think about Guild Boss, think about the Dream Realms, different areas like that is where I have seen her used and have personally used her a decent amount. So she's one that is a little more specific and not universally the best, but has a lot of value in those areas. Next, we have the B tier. I would say B is the worst of the units. The baddest is what I'm going to call it. And the cat is kind of like, in theory, supposed to be like an anti-burst unit where they will shield your team at the start of battle, which can be nice. You know, I could see a few situations where if there's a team that you're going against that is basically always going to be doing a lot of bursty damage, she might be decent, maybe like an Huron or something like that counter. But overall, like the other units, the deer, the owl, they just do better things, and you really don't need to use her very often, if ever. The next one, Dragon Boy or whatever the heck he is, he's just kind of garbage. He gives you resilience, which just it's basically like once you get below a certain health threshold, you become tankier. But for the beginning of a battle, you don't really want to be below 50% health. Like ideally you are able to do a little more before you get to that point. And so it's just not a lot of value there. He's not the best. But if we go on to the niche one, the two that are there are kind of just like very specific scenarios where I could see them being beneficial. I haven't personally used them in these situations, but that's just how I view it. The first one, the bear rabbit looking thing, he is good at, he basically buffs your team when they're on the other side of the battlefield. So if you have units that, think Cecilia, think a few other units that I can't think of, but where they go onto the other side of the battlefield and attack enemies, they will get buffed. So if you happen to have a comp that has like one or two carry units like that, then I could see potentially having some value there. I think in a lot of these situations, we have like these theories of where they could be good, but I think at the end of the day, the deer and the owl are just better. But, you know, those are some scenarios I could see them thriving. With the spider mushroom, he is good at preventing your team from getting attacked. So he will set mushroom traps on your side of the battlefield, and if an enemy comes to your side and triggers those traps, they'll be taunted to attack those mushrooms, and then they'll do reduced damage to your team. And so they can be useful in situations like that, but outside of that, there's really not a lot of use for them. You know, if you were to use either of those in situations where you aren't going to the other side of the battlefield or you don't have enemies coming on your side, they just kind of lose a lot of their value there. And finally, we have the orbs. I like the orbs because they're just kind of goofy and cute looking, but they're pretty much like B versions of all of these units. They will not do anything great. They just kind of do a little bit of what they do, and that's about it. So with orbs, if you have one that's like higher than your other pets as far as like level or ranking, they can definitely have a lot of value with the stat bonuses they provide. But if you have an owl and you have an orb who are both at the same ascension, most of the time the owl is going to be just the better option, like 9 times out of 10. So orbs, if you have a lot of them and you have a high rating of them, sure, go ahead and use them. But they will probably just be used as fodder down the road once it becomes more normal to combine pets and their stats and stuff. But pretty much at this point in the game, there's not really a use of combining because people don't have as many resources for pets at this point. That's more of going to be a late game or for whales. So I'm not going to have a video on that because it's just overly complicated and not really worth it at this point. But once the game kind of develops more, I will make a follow-up video to have more details on combining pets. But that is my video. Hopefully this is helpful. This is my tier list of the beast. This is not for sure, you know, totally 100% accurate, always going to be the best case scenario. But I think universally, most, if not all people, will say that the owl and the deer are just the best pets in the game. They have so much value, so much help, and they just do a lot in their respective areas. But thank you guys for watching. I hope this video was helpful. And if you did like this video, like, comment, subscribe below. And I hope, as always, you have a great rest of your day. Peace.